Today, our toolbox, which is the one that we'll be focusing on, represents not only our heart, but it also represents our life. And if anyone has ever seen a toolbox or ever had a toolbox, you'll know that it's an interesting thing about a box. Boxes tend to collect stuff. A lot of times they collect things you don't necessarily want in there. I know for me, for some reason or another, it has been a struggle all my life with a toolbox to keep it clean, just to have the tools that I want, keeping them in order, in the right places, so that when I open up the box, I can find what I'm looking for fastly, quick, you know. Not full of dust and grime and just leftover parts from here and there and yonder. Paper filled with just junk. And you know, sometimes that's exactly how our lives get. Dirty, filthy, and full of junk. Instead of all the very things God would want us to have. And in those moments when we kind of think, you know what, today will be a good day to clean, sometimes it's a little overwhelming at what detail of cleaning we need to do in order to use the toolbox the way it would be intended to be used. And sometimes we give up. Our scripture today comes from Mark chapter 8. It says, "For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world?" And in this context, we're going to be looking at the word gain, because I want you to look and focus on the fact that our toolbox, and if our toolbox represents our life, and Miss Vanna White will get up, and she's practicing, y'all. She's in training. She'll stand behind the box and do her little thing, pointing out to my toolbox. You can put the microphone down. It was up here, so I just gave it to you. We have our toolbox, and if you can imagine our life being the toolbox, and today we're focusing on the toolbox, and there's a lot of things around there. You know, there's a couple of tools, but if you'll notice, everything up here represents what could be found in our toolboxes, but not everything necessarily should be there. Like, you know, here's a golf club on the front here. It can represent hobbies, along with tennis over here on the end. You got baseball. Thank you. I was doing the pointing, Miss Vanna. Thank you very much. But you got baseball. You got hobbies. You can see a book. We got just a regular old book there that would represent those who like to read and study. I guess that telephone there is going to represent cell phones and communications. I like the truck in the front. Any men in the room like the truck, you know? Of course, that represents a full-size version there. I couldn't get one on stage in here today for us. Like some of the great big churches. I saw a pastor one time actually have a car on his stage. Kind of representing a vehicle there, you know. I think one of the things that we're going to see today is that we can fill ourselves and our toolboxes in our lives with a lot of things that necessarily doesn't help us in life. They have no real value, and they don't add value. But most importantly, I think what the scripture wants you and I to see more than anything is that what will a man gain if he gains the whole world? In other words, those things that we put in our toolbox, those things that we allow in our life, they're done by choice. Decision-making process. Every day you and I make a choice. Every hour, every minute, we're always making choices and decisions. I'm going to ask you a question today as we begin. Are those decisions that you're making, are they based on making you a better Christian or just living life? Are they there to help you become closer with God? Are they just there for you to enjoy this thing called life? Do they have value, or will those things just corrode away, fade away into nothing? You know, I thought about this when I began to think about this toolbox. I began to think about my life. How much inside my life have I allowed or I have put there that does nothing more than waste my time, rob my attention, and steal my affections away from that which is good? You know, I think about, as an adult, how many things that you and I can find ourselves occupied with that would rob us from the very time that we could spend with children, our friends, forming relationships with people, our neighbors, sharing the gospel. living the life that God would have us to live. Just time consumers. You know, I think all of us would probably say today that we're all filled with some things that are just time consuming. They don't have a lot of value. They don't have a lot of input. They kind of just allow our minds to rot away into nothingness while we do nothing. Eating up time. But then at some point in the day, we will tell somebody, well, you know what? I just don't have enough time. You do know, by the way, the most valuable commodity you have is time. You want to know why? Because you can't make more of it. And once it goes by, you can't repeat it. You only have so many hours. You only have so many minutes. And what we spend that time doing will either be to the plus side of our life, or it will just erode our time. He says, for what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world? Now, there's a lot of things you and I can put in our life. There are a lot of decisions that you and I make every day to what we're going to allow in and what we're not. And today the question is to bring to the forefront, what is it that we're going to allow into our life? What is it that we're putting inside our toolbox? What is it that we're filling up that space? Because you and I only have a certain amount of space in our box or our life that we can put things in. You know, it's true that not everything you and I have in our life is by our choice. Not everything that happens in mine and your life is anything that we have done. Sometimes there's, I guess you could say, outside influences. Like where we're born. We cannot decide that. Where we are born and what family we are born into, that's out of our control. Sometimes the location, you know, where we're, not sometimes, but the location of our life. Where we are born into, we can't control that either. There's a lot of things in our life that tend to be a little out of our control. We can't control what neighbors do. We can't control what the people down the street do. We can't control those things. So a lot of things in our life that are in there that we did not put there, but nevertheless, you and I have to deal with them. Can I get an amen? There's a lot of things. I mean, you look at life. Look at the difficulties that people have to deal with. Look at handicaps. There are people that are born every day with handicaps. They didn't choose that. They didn't do anything to deserve it. But nevertheless, for the rest of their life, they will have to deal with that handicap. That will be a part of something that will be in their toolbox. And a lot of times, because of those things, other things will be allowed in our toolbox that we did not put there. Things that we will have to deal with. Maybe because of something that happened in our childhood that some adult or somebody had done. Maybe there's an abusive situation, or maybe there was some thing like that happened when we were younger and we had no control over. Just because of dealing with that, we have other things that we have in our life that we have to go through each and every day just to be able to cope and be what we would call sane to the best of our ability. Maybe it's going through some form of counseling. Maybe it's having a people that help you. Maybe it's even to some people that have to have medication, something they have to take on a regular basis. You know, I find it a little bit sad that other people tend to make fun of other people's lives. You know, that's kind of a very incompassionate thing, uncompassionate thing to do, is to make fun of someone else's life and the difficulties that they have to deal with. It says that people tend to like to make more fun of someone else's difficulties because I guess it makes theirs feel a little bit easier to handle. I don't know. I've never been one to want to be a part of that, to make fun of other people's. I guess because I've had enough fun made of me in my lifetime, but there's lots of things you and I cannot change in our life. There's things that we did not control. You know, our genes and the things that we have. I did not decide to be born with red hair and freckles. That was just the way God made me. That's the way I am. A lot of baggage comes along with that at times in my life, especially as a young one. So my life gets filled with things that probably I didn't decide to put them there. A lot of heartache can come from things that you have in your life, and can cause depressions and things, and you have to deal with them. And you didn't put them there, but nevertheless, they're in one of those drawers. And you have to open it up and you have to deal with it from time to time. We all have struggles. We all have things in our life that we have to deal with. And you know, I like to say this sometimes, you know, the me that you see today is the best, probably the one that I can be today. It may not be the best, but it's the one that you're getting. Can I get an amen? Be careful. Sometimes that comes with a warning. This is the best you're going to get. Don't push too many more buttons. Don't know how many more he can handle today. His drawer might just blow up in your face. Watch out. You know, people need to be more compassionate. But our toolbox is going to represent our lives. It's going to represent the things that we didn't choose to put in there and that were put in there for us. But it's also going to represent the things that we do choose, the people that we allow into our lives. There are a lot of things that you and I are allowing into our life each and every day, or that we are choosing to do, that are not those things that will help us to do what? Build better character, better Christian character in our life. There's a story that is in your little handout that I gave you, and I will go read our little story. This is about a man named R.A. Dickey. He is a C.Y. Young Award winner. It's a Cy Young Award winner in 2012. Listen to his background. He had a divorced home. He is a distant father, an alcoholic mother, sexually abused as a boy, 14 seasons in the minor leagues, completely pitching overhaul at the age of 30, right? Marital crisis, suicide thoughts, all of which leading to a Cy Young Award winner, best-selling author, devoted husband, loving father, and a maturing follower of Jesus Christ. R.A. had a lot put in his box he didn't want. But he didn't let those things, had no control over, determine his direction. One of the things I want us to see that through the scriptures is that you and I have many things in our life that could dictate our future. But the Bible says, through Jesus Christ, I can overcome all things. Can I get an amen? I don't have to let those things that were put into my box by other people control my life. There's a lot of things in this young man's life when he was young that just really began to mold who he was. He began to take over his life and began to push him in this direction or in that direction. But what happens? We see at the end of the story, at the end of the day, he becomes a Cy Young winner. He becomes a best-selling author. He becomes a devoted husband, a loving father. He becomes a mature follower of Jesus Christ. This man begins to blossom in his life. He begins to grow, even outside of all of the dysfunction that was placed inside his life. How did he do that? Because he learned how to build his character in spite of all the negative things that was put into his life. Because of Jesus Christ, he had the ability to grow outside of the mold that life tried to put him in. You know, we have always heard think outside the box. You know, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Because at some point, you and I do have to think outside the box that life tries to put us in.
That's right.
From where we're born. You never know. You never know what community someone's born in. They need to say, hey, look, you've tried to put me in this box. You tried to tell me this is what I have to be. I don't have to grow up to be like my drug dealer mom and daddy. I don't have to grow up to be like the prostitute that my mother was. I don't have to grow up to be dysfunctional like my father was, who raped me when I was a kid or sexually abused me. I don't have to be that. That does not have to define me into the future because of Jesus Christ in my life. I have the power to overcome these things. I can change. I do not have to be the person that society said I had to be. I do not have to be the person who lied on me and told lies and falsely accused me of this, that, and the other. I do not have to be placed into that box. I can become whatever Christ wants me to be. But it's our choice. It's our choice to either decide to be something else or to just be what the world says that we should be. See, what you see up here on the, I think, represents some of the things that the world says. It says you can be a golfer, you can play tennis. You know, you can own fancy cars. You can do all these things. You can be great baseball players. But you don't have to be those things that the world says you have to be. You can be whatever Jesus Christ wants you to be. You can choose to live a better life. And it doesn't have to be based on where you're born or what family you're born into or where you grew up or what community you had to grow up into or what school you even went to. Amen. Through Jesus Christ, you and I can choose, because there's a lot of stuff up here, but none of it doesn't mean a whole lot. Because you can choose whatever you want inside your box. You can literally empty it out and start over with Jesus Christ.
Amen. Amen.
You can be this box. You can be this box that decides one day that I want to get saved. And I want to empty out all the stuff that's inside my box. That my mama put there, that my daddy put there, the school put there, my friends put there, my employees put there, these people put there. All these people put this stuff in my box. And one day you can get saved. And you can put Jesus in your box.
Amen. Amen.
The wonderful thing about Jesus is he can take this box and make it a new box. But the Bible says it's our choice. It's a choice we have to make. I know life is difficult. I know those things are a lot harder to throw out than I just threw them on the floor. And I'm sorry for whoever has to clean that up. But nevertheless, we can through Jesus Christ. We can overcome the stuff that's been put in our box, even by our own selves. Because you and I know that in times of our life, as we go through life, we will find things that the world will tell us we will need. We will slowly put them inside our box. And we will, even after we've cleaned out through Christ, we will go along and we will pick things back up. We will begin to slowly fill up our life. You know, I remember a time in my life to when this thing hung on a wall. And you was only allowed to go as far as the cord that was attached to it. But the world has convinced us today that everyone should have one detached from a wall with games and things on it. And all of that comes at a cost. There are people in this world like myself that can pay upwards of $300 to $400 a month just to have one of these in their life. Somehow or another we're convinced that that's needed. Here's a question. Is it really? I can remember a time in my life when I thought to myself, man, I wish I could make an extra $400 a month so I could buy me a car. I could get me a new car. Now, there's some people in this room, not to point any fingers out, they can probably think back when a car cost about $400. But nevertheless, I can remember a time when I just wished I had an extra $400 so I could upgrade my car. Right. And I spend that much on a phone. There's lots of things that you and I will pick up along the way and we will put back in our box. You know the funny thing about Christ is he's always able to clean our boxes back out. And put us back and restore us back to where he wants us to be. The decision, Jesus says, is up to us. As Mark says, for what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? I want to ask you a question today. What on this thing called the world is valuable enough for you to exchange a relationship with Jesus Christ with today? What is more valuable than eternity with God? What is more valuable than your eternal happiness with the Lord Jesus Christ? What are you willing to trade this world with for the life that Christ offers today? Today could be the first decision of a new box. Are you willing to choose Christ? Are you willing to renew yourself in Jesus Christ? Maybe you're here today and you said, Brother Kevin, I know that I'm saved. But man, I got a lot of stuff in my life that is not found to be of value in these pages. Sexual immorality. You know, the church seems to be a little bit hard sometimes on its members. I want to tell you today that Christ loves you. And even as he sat down with the woman at the well and he reminded her that even the man that she was with was not her husband, he still offered her life. He still offered her love and compassion, and still offered her the option of renewing her life. Having her box made whole through a relationship with Jesus. I'm going to ask you guys to stand with me today. As God was choosing a man to follow him one day, he said, look not on his countenance nor on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, and the Lord looketh on the heart. I want you to know today that you're absolutely right. If God was to look into your life and to look at you right now today, he would probably say that you're a mess. But your word says that God is not worried about the stature of a person or that which is on the outside. He is worried about what's on the inside of the heart. And I wonder if there's anyone here today that would like to give that heart to Christ and get a new box. Maybe you're here today and you filled that box that Christ created new with stuff that you need to get out. I ask, who would be here today to be strong enough, powerful enough, empowered to say, I want to empty the box that Christ gave me and start over. It's a story of a man that I happened to personally get to meet one time. Pastor of a church, a large church, and consider it to this one. 1,500 members. I was at a pastor's conference, and he was a pastor. And he was telling me this story. He goes, you know, I was a pastor for 5 years before I got saved. I said, huh? Say that again one more time. He said, I was a pastor for 5 years before I got saved. I said, I want to know more about that. And he goes, you know, people talk about being saved is a hard thing to do. He goes, but I'm going to tell you something. It really ain't when Jesus is talking to your heart. He goes, because I was a pastor of a church that had over 500 members. And when God spoke to my heart and revealed unto me that I was not saved, I got saved that day at my own sermon. I went down to the aisle, I went down to the end of the steps and got down and called my deacons and said, I believe I'm not saved. I want to get saved today. After a sermon he preached himself. God can change anybody. Are we strong enough in Jesus to not worry about embarrassment, but to be more worried about that box, to get it right today? What would you trade your own soul for? Would you trade it out of pure afraidness, embarrassment? What is the price that would keep anybody from calling on the name of Jesus? That's the question. Would you bow your head with me today? I want to ask you a question. If you're here in this room today and you're thinking to yourself, man, I'm not sure if I can say that I'm 100% saved. When I look at my life, I think I remember saying a prayer, but I don't know if God would call me saved. If that's you and you would like to be serious today, just lift your hand up and go, I want to make sure I get that right today. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being honest. Good job. Good job. Good job. Amen. Praise the Lord. Maybe you're here today. You say, Brother Kevin, I know I'm saved. I know that I've given my heart to Christ. But I tell you what, I've done a lot of stuff with this box God's given me. And I want to get it cleaned up again. I know I've run a little bit. I've tested those waters. And I didn't get what I thought I would get. I didn't find the happiness. I didn't find the relationships. And I feel worse today than I did then. If that's you, you say, I want to get my box cleaned back up today. Would you just lift your hand up and go, that's me, Brother Kevin. I want to get my box cleaned back up today. Amen. Amen. Well, here's the thing. I'm going to take a few more minutes. If you lifted your hand up, here's what I want you to do. Now listen to me carefully, because your response is the most important thing. If you believe in your heart, if you have any doubt of your salvation, I want you to come down to this altar and I want you to specifically pray, God, save me in your own language. But if you believe you're saved, I want you to come down to this altar and I want you to say, God, I know that I'm saved, but I'm doing a terrible job with what you've given me. And I need your help today. I need you to help me clean my life. If that's you, step out right now. Come on down. Come on down. Step out of that aisle. You lift your hand. Come on down there and pray that prayer. Don't pray any other prayer than that. Pray that prayer. Call out into the Lord. It's between you and Him. Don't come because a friend comes. You come because you need to come. Today it's your box. It's not your box or somebody else's box. It's about your box. It's about your life. Nobody else's. If that's you, step out. If you didn't raise your hand, don't worry about it. If that's you right now, if you realize that's you, step on out. Come on down to the aisle. Get on your knees and say, God, I need your help. I've got more junk in my life. And I can't get it out. I want to get it out. I'm trapped. I'm stuck. I feel addicted. Whatever it is. Whatever reason you're feeling. Call on Him today. Call out His name. Call out to the Lord today. Be honest with Him. Be completely honest. If you know that you're living inside your life right now, and there's things inside your life that's not in the alignment in the will of God, no matter what it is, I don't care what it is, be honest. Because God says He's not looking at your outside, He's looking at the inside. And God knows as to whether or not you're being honest or you're just lying to yourself. It's amazing what we can hide in our boxes. But you can't hide from God. Don't try. Be honest with Him today. Imagine your life in Jesus Christ, living honestly. Can you imagine what might be if we could be honest with Jesus? Clean that box out. Get it right with God today.